Liam Hawthorne sat at a corner table in the bustling coffee shop, his sketchbook open before him. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of pastries, creating a warm cocoon that enveloped him. He absent-mindedly traced the outline of a figure on the page, lost in thought, when a familiar voice broke through the hum of conversation. "Liam, is that you?" He looked up, and his heart skipped a beat. There stood Evan Sinclair, his ex-lover, looking as effortlessly charming as ever. Evan's tousled hair framed his face, and his bright blue eyes sparkled with recognition. Liam felt a rush of nostalgia wash over him, memories flooding back like a tidal wave. "Evan," Liam managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. He hadn't seen Evan in years, not since their relationship had crumbled under the weight of unspoken words and unmet expectations. Evan approached the table with an easy smile, his confidence radiating through the crowded space. "Mind if I join you?" "Of course," Liam replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. As Evan settled in, Liam couldn't help but notice how time had only enhanced his allure. The years had sculpted Evan into an even more striking figure. They exchanged pleasantries, but beneath the surface lay an undercurrent of tension. The air crackled with unspoken emotions as they navigated their initial conversation. Liam felt both exhilarated and anxious, unsure of how to address the past that loomed between them. "So, what have you been up to?" Evan asked, leaning forward slightly as if genuinely interested. Liam hesitated for a moment before responding. "I've been working on my art. You know how it is." He gestured to his sketchbook, revealing a glimpse of his latest creation, a vibrant painting capturing the essence of love and loss. Evan's eyes widened with appreciation. "Wow, this is incredible. You've really grown as an artist." A warmth spread through Liam at Evan's compliment, but he couldn't ignore the pang of regret that accompanied it. They had once shared dreams and aspirations together, dreams that had faded when their relationship fell apart. "What about you?" Liam asked, eager to shift the focus away from himself. "How's work? Still running that tech startup?" Evan chuckled softly. "Yeah, it's been a wild ride. But honestly, I've missed us." His gaze held Liam's for a moment longer than necessary, stirring something deep within him. The conversation flowed easily after that, punctuated by laughter and shared memories. They reminisced about their favorite spots in Seattle, the hidden parks where they used to escape from reality, and the late-night drives along the waterfront that felt like they owned the world. As they talked, Liam felt walls he had carefully constructed around his heart beginning to crumble. There was an undeniable chemistry still lingering between them, a spark that refused to be extinguished by time or distance. "Do you remember that time we got caught in the rain?" Evan asked suddenly, a playful grin spreading across his face. Liam laughed at the memory. "How could I forget? We ended up soaked and shivering but laughing like idiots." "Yeah, and we found that little diner where we shared fries and hot chocolate." Evan's expression softened as he continued reminiscing. "That was one of my favorite nights." Their laughter faded into a comfortable silence as they locked eyes again. In that moment, everything else faded away, the noise of the cafe, the people bustling around them. It was just Liam and Evan. "Maybe we could recreate that night," Evan suggested tentatively. "What do you think?" Liam's heart raced at the thought. Could they really go back to what they once had? The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. "I'd like that," he replied softly, feeling hope bloom within him. As they exchanged numbers and made tentative plans for another meeting, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than just a chance reunion. It was an opportunity for something new, a second chance at love. As they parted ways outside the coffee shop, Liam watched Evan walk away, his heart full yet heavy with uncertainty. Could they truly navigate their past while forging a new path together? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over Seattle as Liam turned to leave, feeling both exhilarated and anxious about what lay ahead. The following Saturday, the vibrant atmosphere of the art gallery buzzed with excitement. Liam stood in front of his latest collection, a series of paintings that explored the complexities of love and longing. Each canvas told a story, and as he glanced around the room, he felt a mix of pride and vulnerability. This was his heart laid bare for all to see. Evan arrived just as the crowd began to swell, his presence commanding attention as he entered. Dressed in a tailored navy suit that accentuated his athletic build, he looked every bit the successful entrepreneur. Liam's breath caught in his throat. The sight of Evan brought back a rush of memories, both sweet and bittersweet. Liam, Evan called out, weaving through the throng of art enthusiasts. When their eyes met, a smile broke across Evan's face, illuminating the room around them. Hey, I'm glad you could make it, Liam replied, trying to keep his voice steady despite the fluttering in his chest. Evan stepped closer, his gaze sweeping over the paintings. These are incredible. You've really captured something profound here. He paused at a piece that depicted two figures reaching for each other but remaining just out of touch. This one, it's haunting. Liam felt a warmth spread through him at Evan's words. It's about longing and connection, he explained, feeling a swell of emotion. I wanted to express how sometimes we're so close yet so far away. Evan nodded thoughtfully, his eyes reflecting understanding. You've done that beautifully. As they moved from painting to painting, their conversation flowed effortlessly. They discussed art, life, and everything in between, laughter punctuating their exchanges like music in the air. The chemistry between them was palpable, igniting sparks that danced around them. After an hour filled with mingling and admiration for Liam's work, Evan leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Want to get out of here? I'd love to take you somewhere special. Liam's heart raced at the invitation. Sure, where are we going? Evan grinned mischievously. You'll see. They left the gallery hand in hand, stepping into the cool evening air. The city was alive with lights and sounds as they walked down the bustling streets of Seattle. Liam felt a sense of exhilaration wash over him. It was as if they were stepping into a world that belonged only to them. Evan led him to a small rooftop restaurant overlooking the waterfront. The view was breathtaking, the sun setting over Puget Sound painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. They settled into a cozy corner table adorned with flickering candles. This place is amazing, Liam said, taking in the scenery. I thought you'd like it, Evan replied with a soft smile that made Liam's heart skip a beat. As they sipped wine and shared plates of delicious food, their conversation deepened. They spoke about their dreams, Liam's aspirations as an artist and Evan's ambitions in the tech world. With each revelation, they peeled back layers they had kept hidden for so long. Sometimes I feel like I'm still searching for my place, Liam admitted after a moment of silence. Evan reached across the table and took Liam's hand gently. You've already found it with your art. Your work speaks volumes. Liam felt warmth radiate from Evan's touch, sending shivers down his spine. Their eyes locked for what felt like an eternity before Evan broke the gaze, looking slightly flustered. Can I ask you something? Evan said cautiously. Of course, Liam replied, curiosity piqued. Why did we let things fall apart between us? There was an edge of vulnerability in Evan's voice that made Liam's heart ache. Liam hesitated for a moment, searching for the right words. We were young and scared, I think we both had our own fears about commitment. Evan nodded slowly, his expression contemplative. I regret not fighting harder for us. The honesty hung in the air between them like an unspoken promise. Just then, laughter erupted from nearby tables as couples celebrated their own moments together. It seemed to echo their own shared history, a reminder of what they had lost but also what they could regain. I don't want to make the same mistakes again, Liam said softly. Neither do I, Evan replied earnestly. As night fell and stars began to twinkle above them, their conversation flowed seamlessly into deeper territory, about love, trust, and what it meant to truly connect with someone else. After dinner, they strolled along the waterfront under a canopy of stars reflecting on the water's surface. The gentle sound of waves lapping against the shore created an intimate backdrop for their reunion. They paused at a secluded spot where street lamps cast a soft glow around them. In that quiet moment, time seemed to stand still as they turned to face each other. I've missed this, Evan murmured, inching closer until there was barely any space left between them. Me too, Liam admitted breathlessly. In one fluid motion, Evan leaned down and captured Liam's lips with his own, a kiss that held years of longing and unspoken words. It was tender yet electrifying, every brush of their lips ignited feelings that had lain dormant for too long. As they pulled away slightly, both breathless and wide-eyed with wonder, it became clear that this wasn't just a moment, it was a new beginning filled with hope and possibility. The night stretched on as they walked hand in hand along the waterfront, laughter echoing into the starry sky, a promise that this time would be different. The following week, the rain fell steadily over Seattle, casting a soft gray hue over the city. Liam found himself in his studio, surrounded by canvases that reflected his mood, dark and brooding yet filled with splashes of color that hinted at hope. He painted absent-mindedly, the brush gliding over the canvas as he thought about Evan. Their kiss lingered in his mind like a sweet melody, a reminder of the connection they had rekindled. As the rain drummed against the window, a sudden urge to escape the confines of his studio washed over him. He grabbed his jacket and decided to take a walk, hoping the fresh air would clear his head. The streets were slick with rain, and umbrellas bobbed like colorful mushrooms as people hurried past. Liam wandered aimlessly until he found himself at a small park near Pike Place Market. The trees swayed gently in the wind, their leaves glistening with raindrops. He took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent that filled the air. It was peaceful here, a stark contrast to the chaotic thoughts racing through his mind. Just as he settled onto a bench, he heard a familiar voice call out to him. Liam. He turned to see Evan jogging toward him, his hair damp from the rain but his smile radiant as ever. I was hoping I'd find you here. Hey, what are you doing out in this weather? Liam asked, unable to hide his surprise and delight. Evan shrugged playfully. I love the rain. It's refreshing. He plopped down next to Liam, shaking off droplets like a dog. Plus, I wanted to see you. Liam felt warmth spread through him at Evan's words. I'm glad you did. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching raindrops race down the leaves of nearby trees. The world around them faded away as they focused solely on each other. Do you want to go for a walk? Evan suggested, breaking the silence. Sure, Liam replied, standing up and brushing off his pants. They started walking side by side along the winding paths of the park. As they strolled, they talked about everything and nothing, favorite movies, childhood memories, and dreams for the future. Each shared story drew them closer together, weaving an invisible thread that bound their hearts. Remember when we used to sneak into that old theater downtown? Evan asked with a laugh. We thought we were so rebellious. Liam chuckled at the memory. And we got caught by that grumpy old man who worked there. I thought we'd never get out of there. Evan grinned widely. But we did. And we ended up at that diner afterward, laughing about it over burgers and milkshakes. The laughter faded into a comfortable quiet as they continued walking under the shelter of trees. Suddenly, Evan stopped and turned to face Liam, his expression serious yet gentle. I've been thinking, he began hesitantly. About us, about what happened before. Liam's heart raced at the sudden shift in tone. What do you mean? I don't want to rush into anything, Evan said carefully. But I also don't want to waste time pretending that what we have isn't special. Liam's breath caught in his throat as he processed Evan's words. The vulnerability in Evan's eyes mirrored his own feelings, fear mingled with hope. I feel it too, Liam admitted softly. I've missed you more than I realized. Evan stepped closer, their bodies almost touching now. Then let's not let fear dictate our choices this time. In that moment, it felt as if the world had narrowed down to just the two of them, the rain falling softly around them like a protective barrier against everything else. Let's take it one day at a time, Liam suggested, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. Evan nodded, relief evident on his face as well. I can do that. With an unspoken agreement hanging between them, they resumed walking, this time hand in hand. The simple touch sent electric sparks coursing through Liam's body, it felt right. As they wandered deeper into the park, they eventually found themselves beneath an old oak tree with sprawling branches that provided some shelter from the rain. The atmosphere was intimate and magical, droplets fell like gentle whispers around them. Can I show you something? Evan asked suddenly. Sure, Liam replied curiously. Evan pulled out his phone and opened an app filled with photos from his travels, pictures of breathtaking landscapes and vibrant cities he had visited during their time apart. He scrolled through images of sunsets over mountains and bustling markets filled with life. This one is my favorite, Evan said, stopping on a photo of a serene beach at sunset where waves lapped gently against golden sand. I want us to go there together someday. Liam felt warmth bloom in his chest at the thought of sharing such an experience with Evan. That sounds perfect. As they stood beneath the tree, sharing dreams of future adventures and laughter echoing through the rain-soaked air, Liam realized how much he had longed for this connection, a bond that felt deeper than anything he had ever experienced before. Just then, Evan leaned in closer again, brushing his lips against Liam's cheek before pulling back slightly to gauge his reaction. Liam smiled shyly but couldn't resist leaning in for another kiss, this time more lingering and full of promise than before. The world around them faded once again as they lost themselves in each other's embrace, their hearts beating in sync beneath the sheltering branches of the oak tree. As they finally pulled away from each other, both breathless and smiling widely, Liam knew this was just the beginning of something beautiful, a new chapter filled with hope and endless possibilities. The following weekend, the sun shone brightly over Seattle, casting a warm glow on the city. Liam felt a sense of anticipation as he prepared for his weekend getaway with Evan. They had decided to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and spend a couple of days at a cozy cabin by the lake. It felt like the perfect opportunity to deepen their connection and explore what lay ahead. As Liam drove along the winding roads leading to the cabin, he couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. The lush greenery surrounding him was breathtaking, and he imagined how beautiful it would be to share this serene setting with Evan. When he finally arrived, he was greeted by the sight of the rustic cabin nestled among tall pines, its wooden exterior blending harmoniously with nature. Evan stood on the porch, a wide smile on his face as he waved enthusiastically. "Welcome to our little slice of paradise," Evan exclaimed, stepping forward to wrap his arms around Liam in a warm embrace. Liam felt his heart swell at the affection in Evan's gesture. "It's beautiful here," he replied, taking in the view of the sparkling lake just beyond the trees. They spent the first few hours unpacking and settling in, laughter echoing through the cabin as they joked about their packing mishaps. Evan had brought an assortment of snacks, while Liam had packed art supplies, eager to capture the beauty surrounding them. As evening approached, they decided to take a walk along the lake's edge. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden rays that danced on the water's surface. They walked side by side, their fingers brushing occasionally, a subtle reminder of their growing intimacy. "This place is magical," Liam said softly, glancing at Evan. "I can't believe we're finally here together." Evan smiled, his eyes sparkling with warmth. "I wanted this weekend to be special for us." As they reached a secluded spot by the water, Evan stopped and turned to face Liam. "Can I show you something?" Liam nodded curiously as Evan pulled out a small wooden box from his backpack. He opened it to reveal a collection of colorful stones, each one unique and vibrant. "These are my good luck stones," Evan explained. "I've carried them with me everywhere I go. Each one represents something important to me." Liam leaned closer, intrigued. "What did they represent?" Evan picked up a deep blue stone and held it between them. "This one is for adventure. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded to embrace life fully." He moved on to a bright green stone. "This one is for growth, reminding me that change is necessary." Finally, he picked up a small red stone. "And this one is for love. It symbolizes everything I hope for in my relationships." Liam felt a rush of emotion at Evan's words. "You've put so much thought into these." Evan smiled shyly. "They help me stay grounded when things get tough." "Can I have one?" Liam asked hesitantly. "Of course. Which one speaks to you?" Liam thought for a moment before pointing at the red stone. "That one." Evan handed it over with a soft smile. "It suits you perfectly." As they stood there by the lake, surrounded by nature's beauty and each other's presence, Liam felt an overwhelming sense of connection building between them, a bond that transcended words. Later that night, they returned to the cabin and prepared dinner together, laughter filling the air as they clumsily navigated cooking tasks. The kitchen was filled with delicious aromas as they shared stories about their childhoods, moments that shaped them into who they were today. After dinner, they settled onto the couch with mugs of hot cocoa in hand, wrapped in blankets as they watched the flames dance in the fireplace. The warmth enveloped them like a comforting embrace. "I've been thinking about us," Liam said quietly after a moment of comfortable silence. Evan looked at him attentively. "What's on your mind?" "I know we're taking things slow," Liam began cautiously, "but I can't help but feel like there's something special here, something worth exploring." Evan's expression softened as he nodded slowly. "I feel it too. But I also don't want us to rush into anything without being sure." Liam appreciated Evan's honesty, it was refreshing after their tumultuous past. "I agree," he replied earnestly. "But I want you to know that I'm willing to try, willing to fight for this." Evan reached out and took Liam's hand in his own, their fingers intertwining naturally. "Me too." As they sat there holding hands, an unspoken understanding passed between them, a commitment to navigate whatever challenges lay ahead together. Just then, a crackling sound interrupted their moment as logs shifted in the fireplace. They both laughed nervously before falling into another comfortable silence. After what felt like an eternity lost in each other's gaze, Evan leaned closer again and whispered softly, "Can I kiss you?" Liam nodded without hesitation, feeling his heart race as Evan closed the distance between them. Their lips met gently at first but quickly deepened into something more passionate, a kiss filled with longing and promise. When they finally pulled away breathlessly, both were smiling widely as if they had just discovered something extraordinary. "Wow," Liam breathed out softly. "Yeah," Evan replied with an equally awestruck expression. As night enveloped them in its embrace and stars twinkled outside the window, Liam realized that this weekend was more than just an escape. It was a turning point, a chance for both of them to confront their fears and embrace love anew. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the cabin windows, casting a warm glow over the cozy interior. Liam awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside and the faint aroma of coffee wafting through the air. He stretched and smiled, feeling a sense of contentment wash over him. Last night had been magical, and he couldn't wait to see what today would bring. As he made his way to the kitchen, he found Evan pouring 2 steaming mugs of coffee. The sight of him, hair tousled and shirt slightly wrinkled, made Liam's heart flutter. "Good morning, sleepyhead," Evan said with a playful grin. "Good morning," Liam replied, accepting a mug and savoring the rich aroma. "What's on the agenda for today?" Evan leaned against the counter, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "I thought we could go hiking. There's a trail nearby that leads to a stunning viewpoint." Liam's eyes lit up with excitement. "That sounds perfect. I'd love to." After finishing their coffee and packing some snacks, they set out on their adventure, laughter echoing as they walked side by side along the winding path. The forest enveloped them in its embrace, with towering trees standing sentinel as they ventured deeper into nature. As they hiked, they shared stories about their families. Evan spoke fondly of his younger sister and her knack for mischief, while Liam reminisced about family camping trips that had shaped his love for the outdoors. "I always thought my sister was a little tornado," Evan chuckled. "She'd run circles around us and leave chaos in her wake." Liam laughed. "I can relate. I was the quiet one who just tried to keep up." Their banter continued until they reached a clearing that opened up to breathtaking views of the surrounding mountains and lake below. The sight took Liam's breath away. It felt like they were standing at the edge of the world. "Wow," he breathed out, taking in the beauty before him. Evan stepped closer, wrapping an arm around Liam's shoulders. "I knew you'd love it." They stood together in silence for a moment, absorbing the majesty of nature around them. It was peaceful here, just them and the world in all its glory. After snapping some photos to capture the moment, they settled onto a large rock at the edge of the viewpoint. The sun warmed their skin as they enjoyed their snacks while gazing out at the horizon. "I could stay here forever," Liam said dreamily. Evan turned to him, his expression serious yet tender. "I want you to know how much this means to me, being here with you." Liam felt his heart swell at Evan's words. "It means everything to me too." But just as they were lost in each other's gaze, an unexpected tension filled the air. Evan shifted slightly, pulling away just enough to create distance between them. "Liam," he began hesitantly, "I've been thinking about what we talked about last night." The sudden shift in tone sent a ripple of anxiety through Liam. "What do you mean?" "I don't want to rush into anything again," Evan said carefully. "But I also don't want us to pretend that everything is perfect when there are still things we need to address." Liam felt his stomach drop at Evan's words. "You're right," he admitted quietly. "We have a lot of history, things that still haunt us." Evan nodded, his brow furrowed with concern. "I don't want our past to dictate our future, but I also don't want us to ignore it." A heavy silence fell between them as they both grappled with their emotions, the fear of repeating past mistakes mingling with hope for something new. "I think we should talk about what went wrong before," Liam suggested cautiously. "Maybe then we can figure out how to move forward." Evan looked at him thoughtfully before nodding slowly. "Okay, let's do that." They spent what felt like hours discussing their past, their fears about commitment, miscommunication, and how their insecurities had driven them apart before. Each revelation brought forth a mix of pain and understanding. "I was scared," Evan admitted finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "Scared that I wasn't enough or that I'd mess things up again." Liam reached out and took Evan's hand in his own, squeezing it gently. "You're more than enough for me. We both have our flaws, it's part of being human." Evan met Liam's gaze, his eyes glistening with emotion. "I want this to work, I really do." "Me too," Liam replied earnestly. As they sat there holding hands amidst nature's beauty, it felt like a weight had been lifted from their shoulders, a renewed sense of clarity emerging from their vulnerability. After their heart-to-heart conversation, they decided to hike back down. Together in comfortable silence, each lost in thought but feeling lighter than before. Once back at the cabin later that afternoon, they prepared dinner together again, this time with an easy rhythm that spoke volumes about their growing connection. As they cooked side by side, laughter filled the air once more, an echo of hope for what lay ahead. After dinner, they settled on the couch again with mugs of tea this time, basking in each other's presence as night fell outside. "Thank you for today," Evan said softly after a moment of comfortable silence. "Thank you for being honest with me," Liam replied sincerely. Just then, Evan leaned closer once more and pressed his lips against Liam's, a kiss filled with promise and understanding that transcended words. In that moment, under the soft glow of cabin lights and surrounded by nature's tranquility, both knew they were ready to embrace whatever came next together, no matter how challenging it might be. The next morning, the cabin was filled with a soft golden light as the sun peeked through the trees. Liam awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside, feeling a sense of peace that he hadn't experienced in a long time. He stretched and smiled, thoughts of yesterday's heartfelt conversations flooding his mind. It felt like they had crossed a threshold into something deeper. After showering and getting dressed, he made his way to the kitchen, where he found Evan already brewing coffee. The sight of him, focused and content, made Liam's heart swell. "Good morning," Liam said, wrapping his arms around Evan from behind and resting his chin on his shoulder. Evan leaned back into him, a smile spreading across his face. "Morning. I hope you're ready for some breakfast." "Always," Liam replied playfully. They prepared a simple breakfast together, scrambled eggs and toast, sharing laughter and easy conversation as they moved around the kitchen. The atmosphere was light, filled with an undercurrent of warmth that felt almost tangible. After breakfast, they decided to take one last walk by the lake before packing up to head back to Seattle. The air was fresh and crisp, and the water shimmered under the morning sun. They walked side by side, their fingers intertwined, feeling a sense of connection that had grown stronger over the past few days. "I can't believe how quickly this weekend has gone by," Evan said, glancing at Liam with a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Yeah," Liam replied softly. "But I feel like we've made so much progress." Evan nodded. "We have. I just want to make sure we keep this momentum going when we get back home." Liam stopped walking and turned to face Evan, searching his eyes for reassurance. "I want that too. I don't want to fall back into old patterns." Evan squeezed Liam's hand gently. "We can do this together. We just need to be open and honest with each other." As they continued their walk, they stopped at a small dock that jutted out into the lake. The view was breathtaking, the water stretched out endlessly before them, reflecting the blue sky like a mirror. "Let's make a promise," Evan said suddenly, turning serious again. "A promise?" Liam asked, intrigued. "Let's promise to communicate openly about our feelings, no matter how difficult it may be," Evan proposed earnestly. Liam felt a rush of warmth at Evan's words. "I promise. And let's promise to support each other's dreams," Evan continued, his gaze unwavering. "I promise that too," Liam replied, feeling more certain than ever about their future together. "And lastly," Evan added with a playful grin, "let's promise to have fun. Life is too short not to enjoy it." Liam laughed at that. "Absolutely. Fun is essential." With their promises hanging in the air like an unbreakable bond, they leaned in for another kiss, a sweet reminder of everything they had overcome together. After spending some time simply enjoying each other's company by the lake, they reluctantly made their way back to the cabin to pack their things. As they loaded up the car, Liam felt a bittersweet pang in his chest. He didn't want this magical weekend to end. Once everything was packed away and they were ready to leave, Evan turned to Liam with a serious expression. "Before we go back, there's something I want to give you." "What is it?" Liam asked curiously. Evan reached into his backpack and pulled out a small box wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. He handed it over with a shy smile. Liam carefully unwrapped it to reveal a beautiful silver bracelet adorned with tiny charms, each one representing something significant: an artist's palette for creativity, a tiny heart for love, and even a small stone that resembled the one Evan had given him at the viewpoint. "It's perfect," Liam breathed out, touched by Evan's thoughtfulness. "I wanted you to have something that symbolizes our journey together," Evan explained softly. "A reminder of what we've built and what we're continuing to create." Liam slipped the bracelet onto his wrist and looked up at Evan with gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you for this. It means so much to me." Evan stepped closer, wrapping his arms around Liam once more. "I'm just glad we're on this journey together." As they drove back toward Seattle, laughter filled the car as they reminisced about their weekend, the hikes, the deep conversations, and even their silly moments in the kitchen. When they finally arrived back in the city and parked outside Liam's apartment building, there was an air of anticipation lingering between them. "Do you want to come up?" Liam asked hesitantly. Evan smiled warmly. "I'd love to." Once inside Liam's apartment, they settled onto the couch together, fingers intertwined as they basked in the comfort of each other's presence. "I can't help but think about what comes next for us," Liam said after a moment of silence. Evan looked at him thoughtfully. "Whatever it is, I'm ready for it, as long as we face it together." Liam nodded firmly, feeling hope bloom within him once more. They had come so far from where they started, now it felt like anything was possible. As evening fell outside and city lights began twinkling like stars against the darkening sky, Liam leaned in closer to Evan, a sense of peace enveloping them both. In that moment, surrounded by warmth and understanding, he knew they were embarking on a new chapter, one filled with love, growth, and endless possibilities ahead.